Hey, what's up, guys? So today I'm gonna be doing a deck preview of an archetype that's gonna be coming out this weekend. So Eldlich, which is an upcoming archetype that's coming out, which functions almost kind of like Sky Strikers, which the boss monster makes use of spells and traps by sending them to the grave, and they all float. And so I was thinking in my head, like, this deck looks really insane, and I figured like I give it a shot and try to, like, build it from scratch to see my take on it and what I can do with this Eldritch deck, and if it lives up to the hype that everyone was like talking about. So without further ado, I'm gonna walk you first through a match against one of my friends with this deck, and then after that I'll show you like the deck profile. So here I'm gonna use I drew a Princess Illusion Magician, which is actually not a brick but it synergizes really well with souls. You don't actually have a normal summon in this deck, so like even if you hard draw a Princess Illusion Magician, you can just normal summon the souls. So it's actually not too bad. And so here I'm just gonna go a Princess Illusion Magician, dump Elixir, and then Elixir, it can banish itself to set a golden land. And so there are three types of golden lands that you have to keep in mind. So there's Conquistador, which essentially says it can pop one face-up card on the field and special summon a level 5 light zombie. And then the other golden land is Haquero. Haquero says that when you summon it, and you can banish one card from either player's graveyard. One thing you should definitely keep in mind is that they actually don't target, and so if they don't respond to the activation of the trap, then it just happens. So it's like I guess the best way to describe it is like kind of like Levianeer. If you banish lights and darks and then you activate effect, it's gonna pop 2 in the field. It does it on resolution, so if you don't respond to it now, it's just gonna happen. It's also like the other good example is like Endymion, like the big Endymion in the scale. Anyways, and then the third one is actually a counter trap. It's a counter trap golden land which tributes 1 zombie for cost, and it negates either a monster effect or spell and trap activation. Doesn't negate the effects, but it's still like really good. It also negates and destroy. Anyway, so here I'm just gonna set this Conquistador, and then I'm gonna go and activate Elixir of Black Awakening. Black Awakening lets me special summon the what do you call it, the boss monster from the deck. So that's Eldritch, and then so it's gonna summon right here Eldritch the Golden Lord. And then after that I'm gonna set Haquero and set Elixir. So important things to know is that Haquero and Conquistador only get their secondary, like, quote-unquote effect, like the ability to banish or the ability to pop, only if Eldritch the Golden Lord is on the field. Or like not on the field, but if you control the card. So in this case, it was really important to like turbo him out, and Elixir is like one of the best cards for the deck. It's essentially like a E-Telly or like a quick launch, and so it just summons out like Eldritch like really easily. And then on the following turn, this card will float and give you an additional benefit where you can just banish this on the next main phase and then just set another golden land. So essentially every turn, like on your opponent's turn, you will always have like a pop and or a DD Crow and or a counter trap. So that's like really good. And you don't care about if you have to tribute Eldritch for cost to like for the counter trap, because Eldritch can easily be revived back by using its effect by sending any spell or trap to the grave that you control, and then that spell and trap will just float even more. So it's like really good. So now my opponent, it's gonna normal summon Buffalo. He's gonna attempt. I was thinking on the summon before, but he like quickly made Bailings, but I was like, wait, hold on, give me a sec, I'm thinking on the summon. So here I'm gonna just activate Conquistador of the Golden Land, and then just pop the Buffalo, letting him draw the dump a card to draw 2, which I thought was fine. I ended up not drawing too hot, and so he drew the Sanctuary, but it helps him let access to his Foxy. So here's gonna activate Foxy, and then pitch Roar for cause, and then I'm just gonna chain Haquero and just banish the Foxy. So there is already like really good play. Like making use of like the banish and making use of Conquistador. Now I'm just gonna make Pallades because they're both light monsters. So that's like super neat. Just like push for damage. Here I'm just gonna attack for 7,000 and just try to like push for game with Elixir of Red Splatter, which will let me special summon another Eldritch from my deck. But I think he's gonna just activate Ash Blossom, which negates it and then prevents him from getting OTK'd. I'm just gonna set 1 and then pass it on to him. So he's gonna activate Silent Mining. I have no response for that. He's gonna get Gazelle, because he's gonna trigger Gazelle, but he realized at this point that there's not much he can do, and that if I just like interrupt that and then DD Crow his cards, like it was just gonna be a wrap. So essentially he's just gonna concede here, and then we're gonna go on to like the next game. So in this instance, he's gonna elect to go first, and I'm just gonna see my opening hand. It's like really busted going first or second. I asked to sign in mining, and he just passes. I drew Extravagance, which is really good. I think it's like insane in this deck. I'm just gonna draw 2. I'm gonna use Eldritch effect, send 2 for cost, and then just send a card. I'm sending his Cosmic Cyclone. I'm gonna set a card and then use Eldritch to add itself to hand in a special. It's an optional effect to special summon when you add it back to the hand, so that's also something important to note. And when you do special summon it, it gains an additional 1,000 attack, and it cannot be destroyed by card effects. So that's a really good thing you should make note of. I'm gonna activate Elixir of Black Awakening, and the monster is actually supposed to be in defense mode. So my friend and I quickly caught that. So we had to act for 35. I'm gonna banish Elixir. I'm gonna get a interruption to like pop, and then at end phase I'm gonna banish Conquistador and get a Elixir, which lets me special summon. So here's gonna normal Foxy, and I quickly just go Conquistador pop, and the main reason is because if he Silent Mining Aurora, that meant, and he didn't normal summon anything and pass on an empty 1 set, that probably meant that he doesn't have any other Cyberse monster in his hand. So like the pop in this instance would be correct. And then yeah, that's pretty much game. And so now we're gonna get into the deck profile. And so without further ado, you want to play the Wonder Princess Illusion Magician, and that's for the 3 souls. In terms of the hand trap lineup, you play 3 Ash, 3 Crow, and then 3 Imperm. It depends whatever you like, but I find that these are like really impactful right now in the current meta. And so yeah, I would definitely say you kind of want to play it like where Striker used to be, where you just play like a bunch of hand trap, and then you just essentially like out research and out grind your opponent. Then of course you play the 3 boss monster, Eldritch, Golden Lord. This card is like probably the best card in the deck. It literally says like send this and 1 trap from your, or spell and trap from your hand to the grave, send a card to the grave, which is really good because it's non-destructible removal. And then the second effect is really nice too, because after it's in the grave, you can send a spell and trap you control to the graveyard, and then add it back to your hand, and then special summon it, and then it becomes non-destructible. And the thing is, all the spells and trap you send are like super plus. And then of course you play the 3 Magician Souls. Is like super insane. I'm gonna show like a quick combo tutorial right after this, or like something that you can do depending on your hand. You play 3 Call by the Grave because it's like a form of interruption, and like you usually want your cards to like resolve. I like Call by the Grave because it's like Call by the Grave is really good at just like, it's an interruption and it lets your plays go through. Dorlando is like really nice. Essentially it has 2 effects. The first effect is you can pay 800 life points, which is fun. It's like a quill. And then you can search either an Eldritch or a Golden Land spell trap from your deck. So it gets you a counter trap, a pop, or a DD Crow, which is super nice. And then of course the second effect is like super busted. So if it's were sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard for like any reason at all, you can like search, you can send 1 Eldritch monster to the grave or 1 Golden Land spell trap to the grave, and then that will let you get more and more pluses. It's super nice because even if you get Ghost Ogre on Dorlando, which you can then just dump Eldritch and then set a card and like summon Eldritch, and then just go continue from there. So like it's really good. And it like the fact that it has 2 effects is like really insane. Then Elixir, which is like essentially the E-Telly of the deck. It lets you special summon the big Eldritch, the Golden Lord, from your hand or deck in defense. It does have another effect where like if you control no Eldritch, you can special summon like if you control an Eldritch monster, then you can special summon any zombie. But I like, because we're playing a pure variant, then that's the only effect that matters. And then the other effect is to banish yourself from the grave and then set Golden Lands from your deck. So one thing you should know is that all the Elixirs can set themselves, they're all hard once per turn in terms of like effects that you want to use, and then they banish themselves in the main phase to like set Golden Lands. So Elixir searches Golden Lands, and then Golden Lands searches Elixirs. And So the only elixir that's like quite unique is the elixir of red splatter. So the red splatter is it's kind of like a rescue, or I guess you compare it to a rescue in terms of like its applications. So it's essentially a special summon from the deck or grave of like a zombie monster. But the graveyard effect is you can use it whenever. So if they try to chain DD Crow to it, you can chain Eldritch and banish it for cost to dodge, and then just set a golden land. So this card is like the only card that you can use it whenever you want. But it's also a hard once per turn. So if you use like the special summon effect, you can't use the banish effect. I mean, if you could do both, like this deck would be so OP. Then I played, so you play 3 elixir because they're like essentially, like I said, E-Telly lets you see the Eldritch like easier. Then you play just I like only 2 elixir of like White Fate. Elixir of White Fate is nice because it lets you dodge their opponent's DD Crow or their Call by the Grave. So I like really like this card. It's also really nice because it helps you push for a game sometimes. And then of course like the banish effect is also pretty neat. Just like set a golden land for interruption. But the main thing is like that's a quick play, so like you can set it and then have forms of I guess interaction with your opponent. So that's nice. And of course like for just for consistency, you play 3 extravagance. It doesn't conflict at all. You do make use of your extra deck sometimes, but extravagance is like super nice. Then you play of course the 3 golden lands, the Conquistador, which is like the pop your opponent's turn. You play the splatter. Then you play the 3 DD Crow, which is the Haquero. Then you also play 3 impermanence, and then of course the 1 counter trap. I didn't want to play more than 1 counter trap because quite frankly you can brick on it. So I was just like, it's searchable. I'd rather just play it at 1. If I hard draw it, that's nice, they won't expect it. If I search it, that's okay. It's kind of like a Galatea like effect where you can just search it and then set it. The other thing that I want to make some honorable mentions like in the deck that I considered putting in as well, which is the only card that's not searchable in the archetype, is El Dorado Adelantado, which essentially has 2 effects. It lets you recycle your Eldritch cards and recycles your golden lands or your elixirs. So the first effect is if you shuffle back your elixirs, you can destroy all cards on the field, which is like really nice because all your cards float, so having them get destroyed is like fine. And then the second effect is to shuffle 3 banished golden lands into the deck, and then essentially half your opponent life points and gain that much life points. So I guess this can like work really well in time, and then of course like it makes you harder to kill, which increases your grind game. I feel like this card is something that I could potentially see myself siding in against like a control deck, just because the fact that you can like half your opponent life points and then gain that much is like really good in like a grind game, and it reshuffles your cards so that you can continually pop and DD Crow your opponent. So that's like super nice, but I just didn't like the fact that it was not searchable. I guess the only card that you can really play to search is like Trap Trick, but the only Trap Trick targets are like Red Splatter and like Impermanence in this deck, and I just like didn't like the fact that you were locking in 1 trap after the fact. So I don't know, like maybe I'll consider myself playing Adelando, because it could be really good. I guess it also synergizes well with Trap Tricks actually, because if you Trap Trick and banish like the elixir, you now essentially have 2 you have 1 already banished, so that gets you closer to getting 3 banished elixir cards to like essentially like destroy all cards. But this card is like very slow, and that's like the main reason why I like don't really like it. And it also has a restriction where you need to control an Eldritch monster, so it's like the chances of you like resolving this is like very low, and so I was just like, I don't know, like wasn't really a fan of it. But anyways, we're going to our side deck. 3 Nibiru, that just like kills like Salad and Rockets, which is definitely something we anticipate going to MR5. Like it's a deck that didn't get hit. You played the Lightning Storm against like the control matchup, and then evenly against the control like matchup, like Gaia's Guru or any of those decks. Like these cards are like really nice at blowing those cards out. You like actually can like do some really neat plays, and these cards don't really brick even if you draw them late game, because Souls can send them, and then Eldritch can just send these cards from like from your hand to the grave, so like they're like not really bad at all. And then I play 3 Judgment and 3 Strike, just in case I have to go first, and then just to like make my turn 1 board even stronger, because some of these deck like going second, like you just get FTK'd sometimes. So I mean, you play like enough hand traps that you lower your opponent's ceiling so that they don't make an insane board, and then you can control the matchup from there. So overall it's fine. And then after that, in terms of extra, I play Wonder Endel. I think this card could be really nice because essentially it makes your opponent effects become a pop. So that lets you when they pop a card you control, then you can just it just floats. So that's like really free. So I was thinking about this card can like potentially come up. Then you play two Pleiades. This card is like really nuts. I mean, like if you are like ahead enough to make two make a Haquero and like a Conquistador, turning into Pleiades like makes it another form of interruption. And then when you discard like the materials, which is Haquero or Conquistador, you can then banish those cards at the end phase, so like get you like more pluses. So like that's like really nuts. Then you play three Princess Sprite. I like this card a lot because, like I said, you don't really like normal summon. So if the reason why you play this is in case you open up double souls, you can like souls effect special and then normal summon souls. This will let you excavate a spell or trap, and then you can add it to your hand. And if it becomes a monster, which is either a hand trap, that's fine. But if it hits like the Eldritch, right, then it goes to the grave. Then you can just reborn it back, so it like becomes like really plus regardless. Like having the Eldritch in the grave is like really good anyways. It's also like 1800, so it's like significant, like decent amount of damage if you need to, because souls is like you find that this deck doesn't it controls the temple a lot, so it doesn't really have like a lot of forms, so they do a lot of damage. The other like rank 5 I was thinking about playing is Wind Up Arsenal Samao, which is like just like I said, for it's for like the back row deck, the control matchup. If you're ahead, you can just make this card and then pop 2, so it's like really decent. Then you play like some nightmare packages, a Serb, Phoenix, and a Unicorn. And the reason why you can still do this is because when you link off the Eldritch, you can just bring back Eldritch back, and this will help you like push for game, like pop a back row, then reborn Eldritch back, and then try to just like push for damage. Because Eldritch gets 1000 attack when it comes back from the grave. So that's like really neat. And then the Phoenix, when you discard a card, you're usually discarding like a spell or trap that like float, so it's like discarding a danger. It's like super plus, so it's like doesn't hurt you at all. And then of course you play 2 Link Rebuild, and that's because it has synergy with souls. And then you play 2 Anima, so going second, when you like souls effect and they don't anticipate the Anima, you can go souls, like do all your dump, draw 2, etc., everything. Then you can go Anima, and Anima like take, and then just like continue from there. So like souls is like really nice in that case, like getting you access to like a free Anima. But overall, guys, yeah, that's pretty much the deck profile. Please let me know your comments in like the comment section below, like your thoughts on this deck, if it's like a good contender for like the upcoming meta. And yeah, anyways, please like, subscribe, and thank you so much for all your support, and I hope to see you in the next one.